Dan Illman, Mike Beard taking a look at race number 9 at Aqueduct on Friday, the second of 2 stakes races carded on turf. Let's throw up the field for the Autumn Days. We're going 3/4 of a mile on the outer turf for fillies and mares. This is a rock-solid field. 10 entered in the body of the race. 11 and 12 are also eligibles. The 13 security code is main track only. You can go so many different ways in here, Mike, although the number 4, Toupie, is very, very consistent. One of 2 in here for Graham Motion.
Yeah, I think she's still lightly raced enough too, Dan, that you could project a little bit more improvement, just coming off of a win out in California where she just got a really aggressive ride from Flavien Prat and never really gave that field a chance. It felt like maybe the best race of her career to this point, and it feels like she can get better. Maybe the number 2, though, Don't Look Back at All. I mean, I don't know who the horse to beat is, Dan, but maybe it's her. Maybe it's the 2.
Don't Look Back at All has plenty of good races on turf, and she's also very tactical, as is Toupie, so it'll be curious to see where our friends at Timeform US have them placed on the pace projector after the opening 2 furlongs. We take a look at the pace projector right now. Don't Look Back at All, sitting just off the pace. All That Magic has plenty of speed. Had to go pretty quick in the second quarter mile last time out at Laurel with that long stretch. Toupie won't be too far away. Ms. Big Bucks, another horse, tactical. I expect her to be just off the pace. I think All That Magic makes the lead, though.
I do too. I can see that happening. I think Toupie will be forward in here, but she's a handy horse. They don't have to send her. I feel the same way about Ms. Big Bucks, who's in good form and is a great gate horse. She really breaks the gate running, but she's been handy in her last 2 starts. I think the key for the 2 Don't Look Back at All is just keep herself a little closer this time. Her most recent start was disappointing. I think maybe she got too far back against a good field.
If the pace is hot, you might want to keep an eye on the 9 Mohawk Trail, who has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating and is going second off a solid layoff while turning back in distance. Hollywood Walk is the number 1 well-bred mare, finished 3rd last time out in the Floral Park. She was a big price that day. Didn't have a ton of pace to attack. Ended up finishing a closing 3rd. She is in very, very good form, arguably the form of her career right now. And she's going to be a price yet again.
Yeah, I think that those are all very fair points. Does she need, maybe she needs to run, another improved race to win here, Dan, but I'm not so sure she's not going to be able to do it. She ran well last time in the Floral Park. I mean, the 1-2 finishers in there were just always in front of her, and all she could do was chase them through the stretch, but she was making up ground at the end.
Don't Look Back at All, the number 2, is a strong threat for Christophe Clement. Listen, she got a very good trip when she won the Caress 3 starts back, but she also was just traveling so sweetly on the turn. You just had the feeling all she had to do was get out and she would win, and that's exactly what happened. She got out, and I think she won by a neck because Irad really wasn't asking her for her best. The Kentucky Downs race, it's Kentucky Downs. You're supposed to just kind of draw a line through a performance, not a non-winning one, and AG Bullet loves that course. Last time out in the Franklin, a couple of things happened. I don't think she had the most comfortable trip, and she was in against a very good mare.
Yeah, that was just a good field overall. I mean, the 1-2 finishers in that race are just both really, really good. And yeah, she didn't run well. I'm not going to, defend her performance. She didn't run well in there, but they just sort of rated her very strongly at the start. She got way back in that field. And then just couldn't really make any kind of an impact. She's better than that, and she'll be closer to the pace this time. And her form prior to that last one, again, I kind of feel like it makes her the horse to beat in here.
We'll see if the 3 All That Magic can successfully stretch her speed to 6. She couldn't do it last time out at Laurel, but that was, again, fast second quarter, pressured second quarter. All That Magic was on the lead. You also have the long stretch to deal with at Laurel Park. She just got tired in the stretch. I've always liked this horse. She's run well on the surface in the past, and maybe she's just racing herself back into shape for Kate Damazzi, this being her 5th off of a layoff. I expect speed for her. I am concerned about the distance and the quality of this field.
Yeah, and I'm also just concerned because I'm with you. I feel like she is talented, and I did like some of her races, particularly last year. I'm just concerned that she so far hasn't come back as good as a 5-year-old as she was last year. We'll see if she has, if she's been just sort of working up to a better performance. But I didn't love her race last time, even with all the excuses you're laying out for her. Didn't love her race 2 starts back. I didn't see her excuse that day when Love Appeals beat her. I don't know, Dan. I don't like her races so far this year.
She was wired in this race last year when finishing 3rd after working out an inside-out stalking trip. Maybe she's the one to control the pace this time around. Toupie has always been consistent. Toupie has always been tactical, and Toupie was good last time out in the Unzip Me. Graham shipped her out to Southern California, sent her down the hill going 6.5. She controlled the pace from the start and just kept right on rolling. She was never threatened, got a respectable 89 buyer's speed figure, and here she is again in another spot where she's very well entered.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for her too. I like this performance. She did have a really easy trip in this race, just sort of taking no prisoners on the lead, but I just like the way that she won it, and it just felt like another step in the right direction. You could see the potential that she had towards the end of last year, Dan. And I do think she's moved forward with every single start so far this year. Don't mind them cutting back to 6 at all.
Loon Cry had a 3-race win streak snapped last time out in the Floral Park, but she's a one-run closer that might not have gotten the right race flow, and I think she'll at least get a solid race flow here. When she won at Laurel 2 starts back, what I liked about that race was, again, that second quarter was fast, but it's not like she was out-sprinted through it. She stayed within range enough that as the leaders got tired, once she got into the clear, she came with a strong kick. She's an underrated filly.
Yeah, she's a strong finisher. I mean, I agree that she's underrated. She's going to need a little bit of pace here to set her up. I think the one thing that I noticed anyway about her, Dan, is the 3 wins on turf so far this year. They all came at courses that really enhance her closing style. Laurel with the long stretch, 2 Woodbine wins with a really long stretch. They give her plenty of time to come and get the front runners in the Floral Park last time. Listen, that pace wasn't fast, and she was maybe too far away, but it's not like she ever threatened in that spot.
One of the more intriguing horses in this race is the number 6, Golden Hostess, who was a Group 3 winner in her native South Africa and ran very, very well in her North America debut for Grand Motion in this allowance race at Keeneland. Considering this is her first start since February, look where she is, turning into the stretch, a race where the winner won in gate-to-wire fashion. She has absolutely no chance from here, and yet she is going to kick on pretty well to get third. The pace was fast. Maybe it helped her kick a little bit, but I talked to Graham about these South African horses earlier this week because he did have 2 entered, and he said really the major problem was getting them ready after being in quarantine for 2 months. That's a very strict quarantine for these South African horses. Maybe Golden Hostess just needed a race.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that when you watch the early part of the race, too, because you're right. The first fraction was pretty fast. After that, it kind of moderated. The horses that ran 1-2 were right up close the entire way. This horse was really running at the end of that race. Just didn't look all that comfortable to me. It was less than firm turf. I think that's another thing you want to point out. She had way too far to come at the top of the stretch, but she ran.
Ms. Big Bucks has been managed very well by Michelle Nevin, who's had a little bit of, a chore getting her back on the turf earlier in Saratoga, but just get washed off, and that just had her dirtied up for her win 2 starts back, and then she pulled it through against Open Company. This New York bred winning this first level allowance over course and distance. And this horse on the lead, Reflexivity, is okay. She's loose right now. Ms. Big Bucks has a lot of work to do, and not only is she going to collar this horse on the lead, she's going to go by willingly.
Yeah, going to come and get this horse on the lead. I like this performance. I really liked her win 2 starts back when they got out of Saratoga, where you're right, Dan. They couldn't get a turf race for opening day of that fall meet at Aqueduct. Got a perfect trip, won easily. I just really appreciate the way that she's learned to sort of rate, because earlier on in her career, she was a speed man, and she got involved on some really fast paces and paid the price. It hasn't affected her the last 2 starts.
It's very easy to just simply look at the number 8 Yesternight when the first pass in the PPs and say, well, she's a dirt filly, she's not going to handle turf. And I think that would be silly because she's only raced once on the turf in her career. It was a graded stakes race, the Valley View, where she's 70-1. That race produced 5 next out winners. Last time out, she got washed off at Laurel, a race where she would have fit very well on the turf. I wouldn't completely give up on her. And I have a feeling she's going to show a lot more speed than the Timeform US pace projector has her at.
That'll be interesting to see, what kind of tactics, because she did have speed sprinting as a 3-year-old last year. I guess the biggest issue, I think you're right to just sort of not take the one turf start and just say she's not a turf horse. The bigger issue for me is, Dan, she actually started out, I felt like, with some potential last year as a 3-year-old, and she's been bad in all 4 of her starts so far. She just hasn't improved. Maybe that's because she wants turf, but I'm not betting on it.
Mohawk Trail returned from a pretty lengthy layoff last time out in a salty allowance race at Keeneland, was up close to a pretty solid pace and tired very badly. I wonder if she needed the race. For an underrated trainer in Kelsey Danner, she has a history of running well, second time off of the layoff. I just wonder if this distance is a little bit sharp. It is worth noting that the last time she sprinted over a conventional track, we won't count the Music City at Kentucky Downs, she did win in the Alley Wow, showing tactical speed.
Yeah, got up close to a really slow pace in that Alley Wow and got the job. And that was even 6.5 over that Woodbine course. So I don't know. I don't know if she's a sprinter. I think it's pretty clear based on especially what she's been doing in her recent starts that if she runs her good race, she could be there.
Love Appeals is a very consistent filly going out for Christophe Clement. Let's watch her most recent start, the Floral Park Stakes. Dylan Davis got her into good pocket position behind a moderate pace, is going to get out in the stretch. She has a big look, does Love Appeals. She just isn't able to seal the deal against a pretty good filly in Secret Money. She finished ahead of 3 of the rivals she'll be facing on Friday. From this outside post, it's unlikely Dylan gives her this kind of trip.
Yeah, she's not. It'll be hard for him to get over, but she's tactical. That's also Hollywood Walk there. The two's gaining ground on these two horses. She's back in here. I don't. Love Appeals ran fine in there, Dan. Dillon had to sort of force his way off the inside, but he had every chance to win there. And Love Appeals wasn't quite good enough. I'm a fan of hers. I think she's good enough to beat this field. We'll see what kind of trip she gets.
Of the two non-main track only runners in the race that are on the also eligible list, I prefer the 12 risk threshold simply because of her running style. I think she has the speed that she could be aggressively ridden by under Junior Alvarado. The last race, the Floral Park, no real excuses in there, but if she runs in here, maybe she can get a little bit of a piece.
Yeah, just going to have to run way better than she did in the Floral Park last time, where she, made the lead as she wanted to and was no match.
Competitive race the autumn days. Let's take a look at our top picks. Again, it's the second of two stakes races carded for turf at Aqueduct on Friday. We've both been taken with Toupie pretty much throughout her career. Just her consistency, her tactical speed, and her last race was very, very good.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably better to come still, Dan. I'm going to hope that she can improve one more time. They don't need to put her on the lead like they did last time. She can race just off of it and still be effective. I feel like the 2 is the horse to beat, but I put her second.
Yeah, she's very, very dangerous, the 2. The last race doesn't look good from a running line perspective. She was in against way tougher horses. 4, 2, 10, and 6 for Mike. 4, 10, 1, and 5 for me. Maybe Hollywood Walk can sort of sneak into the number here once again at a price, but we'll see if Toupie can make it 2 in a row in the autumn days. Good luck. Hey, let me give you a hot tip. If you liked the content that you've seen before, click on the like and subscribe button right here. And of course, for more DRF videos like Race of the Days, stakes previews, click on the videos right here.